A more pertinent question to ask about the word woke might be, why in such a short time has it gone from a rallying cry to a pejorative? If the word only made you think of rational, deserved causes like teaching a less whitewashed version of American history, AOC would still want to own it. But it's a joke, because it makes you think of people who wake up offended and take orders from Twitter, and their oversensitivity has grown tiresome.
Bill Maher unleashed a fierce critique of the Democratic Party, arguing that its biggest mistake has been failing to rein in the outspoken faction that has challenged it for the past decade. Maher insisted that the DNC should have tried to guide this energetic wing much earlier, especially since he believes their influence played a major role in last year's election setback, and instead the party keeps trying to satisfy the loudest voices on the far left edge, which he says weakens its overall power. His blunt comments sent shockwaves through the Democratic National Convention. So let's take a closer look.
Never hear anyone bragging about being a liberal. There's no liberal Bob Schmohawk as a liberal who wants to enact more liberal policies. Democrats might want to think about what that means, because the implication is you're embarrassed by what liberalism has become, that the term is now irredeemably coupled with woke nonsense, which is a shame, because despite their nonsense, it's still generally a better product. But what does it say about your brand if you don't want to say what?
Maher argued that Democrats spend too much time apologizing for their history rather than showing pride in it, leaving people with the impression that the party is embarrassed by its own roots. Meanwhile, he noted that Republicans proudly celebrate their identity. They boldly call themselves conservatives at every chance, and whether someone agrees with them or not, the GOP projects certainty and strong commitment to its values. The DNC, however, often appears stuck in a cycle of hesitation, trying to satisfy every group, even if it means watering down what it stands for. Maher's message was direct. If you don't have a firm foundation, you end up wobbling wherever the wind blows. In today's tense political landscape, a party that constantly second-guesses itself is bound to lose ground against one that treats its beliefs like...
What does it say about your brand if you don't want to say what you are? So much of liberal politics nowadays is identity politics, and yet it seems we found the one thing liberals won't identify as: liberals. If the word only made you think of rational, deserved causes like teaching a less whitewashed version of American history, AOC would still want to own it. But it's a joke, because it makes you think of people who wake up offended and take orders from Twitter, and their oversensitivity has grown tiresome. That said, I would love to have AOC on this show.
Protective armor. They now rally behind any trending online idea, no matter how niche, as long as it gives them a sense of moral high ground, even when the message feels inconsistent or empty. Yet they rarely speak up for classic liberal principles themselves. Out of fear of being judged as insensitive or outdated, they tiptoe around their own beliefs. Instead of defending core ideas like personal freedom, open debate, and the right to express differing opinions, they've boxed themselves in with their own version of strict politeness. Maher's criticism hits hard because many people see the same pattern. Modern liberals spend less time exchanging ideas and more time shutting down.
James Carville knew how to win, and he blamed the Democratic losses this November 2nd on stupid wokeness, to which AOC fired back that wokeness is a term almost exclusively used by older people these days. So that should tell you all you need to know. What? This is a term folks like you brought out very recently and had been proudly displaying at every march since. Just last year, The Guardian declared woke the word of our era. I guess they didn't get the memo from the Mean Girls Club. We don't use that emoji anymore. Woke, please, we say fetch now.
Down conversations, they choose to silence, to follow the crowd, and to hide behind catchy slogans instead of genuine viewpoints. According to Maher, this is exactly why their cultural influence keeps fading. And here's where things get especially interesting. The word that once defined the most energetic part of their movement is now treated like something embarrassing. Not long ago, the term woke was proudly displayed as a badge of superior awareness and kindness. It filled timelines, speeches, and hashtags, all meant to show how enlightened and thoughtful they were. But now, many of the same voices are quietly backing away from it, acting as if the word never existed, or insisting that critics simply misunderstood it. It's surprising how fast a movement drops its own identity the moment it begins causing trouble. The very group that once used the label to call out others is now scrambling as it turns against them. Maher's conclusion lands perfectly. If your favorite slogans collapse the moment they face scrutiny, the problem isn't the slogan, it's the belief system behind it.
What a great strategy, never missing an opportunity to remind voters how lame and clueless and hopelessly uncool they are, especially since those are the ones who actually vote. But okay, fine. What word would you like us to use for the plainly insane excesses of the left that are not liberalism, but something completely different? Because you can't have that word liberal from us and think it should cover things like canceling Lincoln and teaching third graders their oppressors. That's all your new thing.
Sudden rejection of the word woke by the very group that once celebrated it is almost poetic. But here's the catch. The ideas behind it haven't disappeared. They've simply been repackaged. The beliefs remain, prioritizing identity over merit, reshaping long-standing social norms, and promoting views that many everyday people find disconnected from practical reality. The only difference is that a new label is being used, as if a simple name change will slip by unnoticed. The philosophy itself hasn't gone anywhere. It still often feels out of step with common sense and the lived experiences of regular families. So even if the word woke has been set aside, the confusion and impracticality people point to remain. As Maher would put it, switching vocabulary doesn't solve the core problem. It just makes it easier to cover up the contradictions. And beyond these questionable ideas,
Democrats who 1 year from now will be licking their wounds and asking themselves how they could have lost the midterms so badly must instead ask themselves that question now. Now. You know, now. Like, while there's still time to do something about
ideas, this group seems to be locked in a constant loop of frustration. Nothing ever seems good enough. If the present doesn't offer something to be upset about, they comb through history seeking a quote, a statue, or a piece of art to rally against. Today, it feels like some treat being offended as a full-time duty. Instead of discussing or disagreeing respectfully, they push for things to be erased, whether that means removing authors, artists, or historical figures from online platforms, simply because they're...
A couple of weeks ago, Amy Klobuchar was here, and when I suggested the Democrats need a messaging czar, she offered me the job. Well, you need a messaging czar in your party.
And you think it should be you?
Amy, I'm flattered. But after careful consideration, I must decline. The hours it would take me away from home would make it very difficult on my family. But I will tonight, once again, break out my coach hat and try to point the Democrats in the right direction. That's all I can do.
Views don't match modern expectations. Maher calls out this pattern for what it is, not progress, but the opposite. A society doesn't grow stronger by rewriting or hiding its past. It grows weaker. Maher warns that this mindset is chipping away at the Democratic Party from the inside. When a movement focuses more...
That said, I would love to have AOC on this show. There's so much to admire there. I was one of her first supporters for the Green New Deal idea. But that will probably never happen because Democrats don't go anywhere these days where they're not pre-adored. And that's my last bit of advice to them. Go where the amen corner isn't. Do Fox News. Be brave. Come here. Go everywhere. Winning is about expanding the election.
More on outrage than on understanding and more on erasing than on learning, it becomes fragile, and that fragility threatens the party's future. I don't think Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez would ever agree to an interview where her views are seriously challenged. She much prefers friendly questions from reporters, the kind that let her spend the entire segment poking fun at Republicans and Donald Trump. The moment the setting becomes tougher, she grows noticeably uncomfortable or overly selective about which interviews she's willing to do. AOC represents the comfort zone mindset that has become common within today's Democratic Party. By choosing to appear only on media platforms that already agree with them.
I know liberals think this country is full of dumb white people, but in our democracy, dumb white people make up a substantial portion of the vote. The median voter is a white person in their 50s who didn't go to college, their favorite TV show is NCIS, and their pronouns are what? I don't know what you're talking about, and get away from it. In 2008, Republicans only won 4 Virginia counties by more than 70%. This month, in the governor's election there, they did it in 45 counties. And this is what a lot of Democrats were told was the reason for that. Glenn Youngkin's win proves white ignorance is a powerful weapon. Racism still works in Virginia. It's not the messaging, folks. This country simply still loves white supremacy.
The DNC creates an easy bubble where tough questions rarely appear and real accountability is avoided. It's not hard to imagine why this would frustrate Maher. A movement can't claim confidence if it won't defend its beliefs outside its own protective shell. That kind of hesitation looks more like fear than conviction, and I fully agree with that. Over a year after their election loss, Democrats are still struggling to gain momentum in the polls. Despite constant media exposure and polished speeches, they haven't convinced Americans that they can handle the country's biggest challenge.
I haven't worked up an official Democratic campaign slogan for 2024 yet, but I tell you what I have ruled out is vote Democrat because white people suck. It's like trying to get laid by saying, you're ugly, you want to dance? You're alienating a whole lot of people, particularly whites without a college degree, which is most of them in a country that's still 70% white. I'd say do the math, but math is a form of white supremacy.
Challenges. Meanwhile, Trump continues shaping the national conversation on major issues: national security, the economy, the border, and America's role around the world. No matter what someone thinks about Trump's personality, he has an instinct for the concerns of everyday people. His overall popularity may rise or fall, but he stays connected to the topics that shape voters' priorities. Many people appreciate his straightforwardness even when they don't love his tone. In the end, catchy slogans and carefully